Hello everybody, this is Mithril Zenith, and today we're doing a tier list idea brought to you by a commenter on a previous video of mine. I probably should have had ready who the commenter was, but I don't. Let me find that right now. Commenter was J Magic D. Saying that team comp should be picked by picking the best unit for the emblem rather than the reverse, and saying that basically there should be a tier list of who wants what emblem. And I said, hey, sure, sounds great. Let me just adjust this a little bit. Sounds great. Why don't we make one? So today we are starting with perhaps one of the arguably most desired, most argued about emblems. The emblem that most people say, just put this on X unit and it'll fix that unit, Lynn. Now, obviously, you can't put Lynn on everyone at the same time. So the question being, who gets the most benefit out of Lynn, or who really needs Lynn most in order to succeed, or who, if not needs even, who gets the most benefit out of Lynn compared to other units? So let's talk about it. First of all, high contender. Not sure if I'll put in B or A. I'm not necessarily putting in S tier unless I think there's one standout. Alchrist definitely gets a decent amount out of Lynn. Alchrist doesn't necessarily need all that much speed, though a little speed does go a long way on him. And he generally is generally good for Lynn because he has bows in his base kit, so he can use forged bows for Astra Storm. This brings him up quite a bit. I don't think he's the best user of Lynn overall, but I think that if you want a solid Astra Storm user, you could do a lot worse than Alchrist. Alir, I don't actually think needs Lynn all that much. I think that Alir's fine with Lynn. A little bit of extra speed guarantees that Alir will double, but again, it's not the most necessary. Alir's speed is generally fine. It's generally their actual damage that's more of an issue, and so you generally find people putting like Marth or Erica on Lynn to shore up their damage more so. So Marth and Erica on Alir to shore up their damage than Lynn to shore up their speed. Though, again, extra speed, alacrity doesn't hurt. I feel like Alfred is one of those units that if you raise him, he can get enough speed to... Basically, this is turning into a tier list of who needs speed and who can be fixed speed by Lynn. Alfred, I feel like, can be. I'm not sure if he's necessarily the best user of Lynn, but I definitely feel like if you have units in your army that need speed to get going, they're definitely going to be big users of Lynn. And so Alfred definitely needs that. Can make decent use of Astra Storm because of his high strength. Definitely someone who Lynn makes a lot better, if you're still using him by that point. Obviously, this is assuming that you have trained them at least somewhat. This is not just saying, hey, take them at base, slap Lynn on them, and they'll be better. This is saying, hey, if you're training them and if you're using them, how much do they want Lynn versus how much do other units want Lynn? Speaking of Cavaliers, Amber definitely wants Lynn, almost even more so. Both of these units suffer from middling speed, but pretty solid other stats, and Lynn, I mean, first of all, fixes speed very, very well. Lynn doesn't fix all speed, though, and I think that someone like Boucheron, I don't know, like, he needs the speed, but he needs so much else to really get going. I think that putting Lynn on Boucheron is not really getting the best bang for your buck. And I also think that Jean also... Jean I'll put C tier because Jean's weird. Because depending on Jean's class route, he might be lacking in speed, but depending on his class route, he might have a ton of speed. And depending on his class route, he might just not care about speed. So Jean really depends where you put him, because again of that doubling of growths. Bunei can get some things out of Lynn, but I really feel like Bunei needs other support more, or wants other support more. I don't think that he wants specifically Lynn as much as, most of these other units do. Maybe I'd put him in C tier, but I feel like he definitely gets more use out of someone like Ike, or someone like someone that complements his natural strengths, as opposed to trying to shore up his speed, which is quite low. Kind of similar with Goldberry, though I'll put her B tier because theoretically, depending on your build with her, you can put Lynn on her and just make her double everything. She won't double everything at base, at least on Maddening. But I also feel like she tends to want more units wants emblems like Ike or Erica a little bit more. Chloe can get some good inherits off of Lynn, like Alacrity, but she does not need the extra speed. If anything, she only really wants Lynn for Alacrity. If you're doing something like a crit build with her, and then you just get Alacrity for her. But there's a lot better users of Lynn than Chloe. I used Chloe with Lynn for a decent amount of my first hard mode playthrough, and it was fine. But I mostly only needed it for Alacrity because she had the speed already. Anna, it depends. Anna has pretty solid speed, but that also depends on what class route you take her. She really tends to want more assistance with her damage stats, but speed is not bad, especially if you're trying to give her heavier weapons. Then you either want build or you want extra speed to make up for it. And so I think Anna's not bad, but I think you could definitely do better. Heck, I think at this rate I should probably differentiate them a little bit more with kind of where they want to be. Etier definitely makes good use of Lynn. Her speed growth is not actually terrible. Her base is just quite low, and so she'll rarely be doubling things, but she combines both good strength and bow access and really benefits from extra speed, and so I think that Etier is a really good user of Lynn. Citrine, I don't think is that great of a user of Lynn. Sure, Lynn can help boost up her speed, but she doesn't really have a lot else going for her, and that speed needs a lot of help, such that even with Lynn, you'll probably need to inherit speed and build up Speed Taker before you're doubling. And she just feels like she really wants a magical bond ring more than she needs Lynn. So something like May, or especially Olwen, she feels like, tailor-made for Olwen, but this is not an Olwen tier list, or whatever. This is Lynn, and she doesn't necessarily need Lynn a lot. Saline, there are some benefits to it. Saline is a little bit low on speed. Saline has surprisingly good strength, especially in her Vidam class, and so she can use the bows somewhat effectively, as well as get good damage through Astra Storm, even though she doesn't have a forged bow to use. Muligir is still a really solid bow anyway for that. And she needs the speed to double. So I think that Saline is probably a pretty decent choice for Lynn. Maybe not the best, but probably decent. Clan, of all the things Clan has, Clan actually does have speed. Clan wants some other support, not Lynn. And I'm gonna say I'm iffy on Diamant as well, because Diamant has kind of a little of everything, but not a ton, and so maybe he's like B tier in terms of wanting Lynn to really shore up that speed. Kagetsu definitely does not need the speed from Lynn. He's still decent with her, but I think that Kagetsu really wants Kagetsu doesn't really need any emblems, let's be real. But if we are putting emblems on Kagetsu, Lynn is not my first choice. I would much rather put him with Roy or even Erica that before I would Lynn if I had those options available to me. Obviously, if you don't, then Lynn's fine, but you're probably gonna have other units that want Lynn more. Speaking of which, Fogato only really wants Lynn because of the extra bonus on Forged Bows. He has speed for days, and so I guess I'll put him like C tier because of like that, good Forged Bows. Obviously, this is assuming base class or like an easy reclass, not a meme build or anything. Yeah, Fogato needs more strength or more magic. He doesn't need more. Fogato needs power, not speed. And so Lynn's not the best for him, but he does have some niche use cases of just going over speed or Astra Storm with good bows. Fram, again, just really wants something else if you're using her to try and fight. And speed is not her problem, it's trying to deal damage is her problem. Hortensia, I'd even put Hortensia like F tier because she just does not need the speed. Of all the stats, she has speed, and she has decent magic, but a ton of speed. And she's support and utility, so give her something that's support utility, not Lynn. I feel like Jade and Louis also don't really want Lynn, because if you're using them in Armor Knight, they don't have the speed required to really make use of Lynn. She increases speed by a lot with all things considered, but she's not really going to get your Armor Knights to the point of doubling. If you put them in other classes, then maybe, but I feel like as generals, or even Great Knights, they don't really make the best use of the speed. Speaking of which, also, Lapis is basically all she has at base in her base class set is speed, and so unless you're doing a weird build, she's only kind of going to capitalize even more on her speed with Lynn, which is not bad, but there are other people that want it better. I feel like I'm going to say that a lot. Ivy definitely wants Lynn. She has very good all stats except for speed, and her speed's only middling. It's not even bad. So Ivy is a great user of Lynn. The question is, do you want to give Lynn to Ivy, or do you want to use one of these other units that I think even the B tier has a really solid argument for wanting Lynn? I'll put Marin in C tier for wanting Lynn because she generally has enough speed to double. Not always. She could benefit from some extra speed from Lynn, but again, just wants a little bit more damage more so than more speed. Linden, maybe there's some fun builds you can do with Linden with some high crit and then get Lynn for Alacrity and double crit shenanigans. And so in that case, maybe he wants Lynn. But other than that, kind of just feels like more meme builds than anything else. Similar for Pandreo. Pandreo generally has higher speed and doesn't need it. He's kind of like if Clan started out like, with plus 15 levels and promoted, is how Pandreo feels, with also a decent magic growth and base. Yeah. Mavier actually gets a decent amount of benefit from Lynn, because by the time he joins, he is kind of at that middling speed rate, and so Lynn can boost him up. I think that he generally benefits more from other emblems, but Lynn is a solid choice for him because it's just his speed is just on the edge of being able to double. Lynn definitely solves that. Almost done. Panette, again, a unit that really wants some extra speed. I feel like she needs a little bit more help than Lynn for most cases. You might need to reclass her and give her some other benefits to help her along. But if you can get her doubling, her massive base strength does wonders. So definitely someone to highly consider for Lynn, even though I don't think that Lynn out of the box really solves as much of her issues as she does like Etier or Amber or Ivy. Sapphire, I'll probably put Sapphire up here as well because Sapphire has pretty decent stats across the board, and that extra speed does take her from being doubled to doubling. Rosado. It's funny, Rosado, when you fight Rosado in Chapter 10, doubles a lot of your units, it feels like, with that 20 base speed. And then he comes in Chapter 16 and still has like the exact same speed that you fought him at in Chapter 10. And so I feel like to help Rosado along, he does need Lynn support, but he also needs a lot of other support as well. And so I can't necessarily say that Lynn fixes his issues straight away. And so I'll put him like top of C tier for wanting Lynn. Seedall is a dancer, he doesn't care. Tamara, Lynn can do some fun stuff with, I'll put her C tier, Lynn can do some fun stuff with allowing her to quad with brave weapons or something on some units that she otherwise couldn't, as Picket, if you're doing like Brave Lance Sandstorm build. Again, there are probably some better emblems for that, but Lynn's not the worst choice. Vander surprisingly gets a decent amount with Lynn. I'm gonna put him at D tier because unless you are going out of your way to really build him and train him, he's not really going to be doubling anyway, and he'll probably be far enough behind the curve that he's getting doubled, and Lynn just takes him from getting doubled to not getting doubled, but not necessarily all the way to doubling unless you've really invested into him. So yeah, I'll put him in like D tier for wanting Lynn, but it could be viable. I'm also going to put... Actually, I'm going to put Yunaka and Zelkov in C tier because Lynn's not the worst choice for an avoid tank if you're leaving them as thieves. For putting them as wolf knights, again, a little bit of extra speed can help, especially with someone like Zelkov who can struggle to double every once in a while. Again, better options, but I'm just repeating myself on loop right now. And Vale doesn't really need Lynn. Vale needs a lot of help. But my first thought with Vale, fixing Vale's kit, wouldn't be to give her Lynn. It would be to give her someone else. If you want to make her combat support, she needs a lot of help for that. But she works a lot better with being a support, a utility emblem. Someone like Corrin being able to utilize all the Dragon Veins, or someone like Byleth being able to have the Rainbow Rally on dancing. Anyway, that is who I have set up for who needs Lynn the most. What are your thoughts on this type of format? What are your thoughts on this tier list? Do you have any changes? Do you think that any of these units that are lower down really need Lynn and really get fixed with Lynn? Do you think that these units up here need someone else other than Lynn? Let me know in the comments down below, and until next time, this is Mythral Zenith signing out.